Vet Talk, like it challenged me in a way that I had never experienced, and it changed my life. You're the adult, you're the one mentoring.
Military, you got to deal with people that's not from your block.
Mentoring and helping be leaders and helping shape these young men.
This country was made great by so many accomplishments.
Good day, everybody. Here we go, Raw and Real Vet Talk with PJ Cowan, and today we have a very, very special guest on the show. Carl Radke is in the building, everybody. Hey, Carl, how you doing?
Doing well, PJ. Thanks for having me on, man.
Man, thank you for coming on, man. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your story with us. Man, I'm gonna dive right on in this, but before we get right into it, Carl, can you kind of tell me who was Carl before Summer House and Winter House?
Well, I mean, I was kind of a young, immature, guy trying to figure out his life in New York City, a hardworking, professional. I went to Syracuse University and studied TV and film at the Newhouse School. So I'd always, loved the TV industry and had hopes and dreams of maybe acting or producing films. So yeah, my trajectory and journey has been a little interesting where I graduated from college and I moved to Los Angeles and I worked in the TV industry for a few years.
Okay.
I worked on Criminal Minds, which is on CBS, kind of behind the scenes, and then kind of got disillusioned by the industry a little bit. Realizing I was working crazy hours and not making a ton of money and not really getting further up the ladder.
Yeah.
And had a friend who was working for a medical device company, making crazy money, driving a company car, playing golf on Friday, going out to nice dinners, and asked him, I'm like, what do you do? And he's like, I work for this sales company. So he got me into sales, and that kind of took me off onto a new direction. So I was kind of a career sales guy for, in medical device and
Yeah.
kind of traveling around. And that did lead me coming back to New York City. And yeah, I mean, kind of a hopeless, charismatic, guy who, is always trying to find his way in the world and make some money, build some relationships, maybe start a cool business, maybe be a part of a cool business. But yeah, Summer House and Winter House certainly has changed my life forever. And I fully embrace that, but it's been really integral and critical to my growth as a person.
Okay.
You can learn a lot about yourself by watching yourself back on TV for 7 years.
Oh, I bet. So how did it come about that you joined these shows, and explain to the audience a bit about the process of being hired to be a part of these both of those series?
Yeah, I mean, it was just very organic and very authentic. In New York City, when I got to New York City in 2013, and I had met some friends who were telling me about this house that they were renting, and it was in the Hamptons, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, everybody kind of puts their money in, and you pick different weekends, and you all stay in a house, in the Hamptons, which is like 20 somethings, 30 somethings. People party, people hook up, people have a good time. They let loose, they spend money.
So
And it was
these are
like,
party houses then, right?
yeah, like a party house, and
Yeah.
just kind of having a good time and enjoying the fruits of your labor. I mean, New York City, it's a fast-paced environment, and sometimes, in the summer it gets really hot here, so people flee. And one of those places is the Hamptons. So, Kyle, who's one of my best friends, he was someone that, was initially kind of sought after by some, production folks to potentially do something. And I had met Kyle in the Hamptons, and I'd met a lot of friends in those initial summers before it was ever a show. And yeah, like it was just very organic. They really liked Kyle, and Kyle had a big group of friends, and I was a part of that group.
Okay.
And they, the girls and the guys came together, but it was a really authentic group of friends who we were already doing this kind of thing. You rent a
Yeah.
house, you go out there, maybe not every single weekend like we've done on the show, but it's a big thing here in New York with, young professionals and people who, like to have a good time.
So then for a few seasons, you really did party together. Y'all had a good time. But during the pandemic, the game kind of changed a bit, and you all had to live under one roof for 6 weeks straight. Can you explain to myself and the audience when you made that important decision from going to this party house to going into more of a sobriety, and during that pandemic and the drama of being sober, from going into this, party house to being sober.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, the summer house is certainly, it centers a lot around having a good time and drinking. And, we've been lucky to be able to do this for several, we're now in season 7, but, from seasons 1 through 5, I was, pretty much always just kind of very up and down and volatile. And a lot of that was as a result of my drinking and partying. And, it really took a lot of, I think, to look myself in the mirror and take what I was watching. I mean, I'd watch the show back, and trust me, I mean, it's not easy to watch yourself back when you're really drunk and angry or emotional. But it's also, not a lot of people have footage of their weekends in the summer to draw upon and kind of
Yes,
reflect. I mean, if a lot of people saw how they acted, they probably would make changes too.
I believe
So
that.
I have a lot to thank for being on the show that allowed me to see and learn and kind of equate it to sports. I mean, a lot of great athletes, they watch film after the game. Like, they watch themselves play the game that they just played, and they learn from their mistakes. And, they missed a block, or they missed or whatever, a shot. And that was how I kind of looked at it. I was like, I'm going to use this and really learn. And I realized I have a problem with alcohol, and I needed
Wow.
to address it.
Yeah,
Um, and that all kind of compounded with the pandemic. I think
yeah,
we all were kind of in a weird place in March of 2020,
yeah,
April of 2020, and sitting around being very isolated. I just was like, I got to get sober. So I really started that journey then. But then the season you're discussing, where we were all in the house for about 6 weeks straight,
yeah,
we were fortunate to be able to still shoot a reality show during the pandemic, but there were some challenges. Just, we weren't allowed to have parties, obviously, and
yeah.
it was a little bit more of a pressure cooker. But that summer, I got the news while we were filming that my brother had overdosed and passed. And that just really, I mean, that changed my life forever, and was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to encounter.
So
Um,
Carl, let's talk about that.
yeah,
How did you stay on track? During that time. I mean, you get this call. You're going through, your sobriety. How did you stay on track and not use alcohol as a way to make the pain? Especially when you're on this show and it's aired. You know,
it it was really hard. I mean, I'll be honest. I Going into that summer, I was moderating my drinking. I would take some days off, but I still thinking, oh, I can just drink beer, or I can just drink a glass of wine.
yeah,
Anybody who can relate to sobriety can understand what I'm talking about. I think everybody tries so many different things until they're like, okay, like, I just need to not. But my brother had passed, and he had addiction challenges, and he was aware of some of my challenges, and I think was always optimistic that I would kind of see the light and improve, my life and make better choices. But when he passed, it really just rocked me to the core.
yeah,
But I'll be completely honest, I didn't just immediately go, okay, I'm getting sober fully. It took me a few months after he passed to really wrap my head around the fact that I actually really need to take this seriously. Because, grieving the loss of your sibling while drinking and using hard drugs is just no way to operate.
yeah,
And I found myself, after the loss of my brother, after the funeral, getting back into New York City after the summer, I'd be alone a lot. I was drinking more by myself. I
mm,
was using other drugs by myself. It was just becoming kind of a very toxic and dark place. And a lot of people, do hit a rock bottom, or hit that
yeah,
point where they just are had enough. I had a moment in early of 2021, January, which is my sobriety date now, where I hit my rock bottom. I had
yeah,
drank a bunch of wine by myself. I had called some people and kind of scared them. I had just had a lot of just really just scary behavior that my friends and family were really, really concerned. And they were very supportive of me, really taking that next step, which is I didn't go to rehab or anything, but I
okay,
really committed to going to AA. I really committed to working with a therapist, and I talked to my therapist about the struggle. And
yeah,
before I used to not even tell my therapist about my drinking or drug use. I would just talk about relationships or my family, but I
yeah,
wasn't getting to the core of what I was dealing with. And I really had to make a daily effort, to, like, it's hard work, but I met some really important mentors and sponsor people and folks who also were able to get sober. And that the community of sober people is really what helps proliferate, more sober people, because you can kind of identify with people. I would go to a meeting or meet someone,
Stronger together.
yeah, successful guy, he's well dressed and he's like 5 years sober. I'm like, holy shit. Okay, like
Wow.
I can, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And then you meet
Yeah.
someone who just entered the room who's sober for a day, and you see how they're in their dark place and struggling to come to grips. And that whole community is really what opened my eyes to, didn't feel alone, didn't feel, just felt like very like, okay, like there's other folks that are just like me. And
Yeah.
if they can persevere and they can get through things, then so can I. So it's a constant journey, but I think it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of self-reflection and looking in the mirror and just.
Man, Carl, that's pretty amazing to hear, and big kudos to you because it does, man. It takes a lot to, be open, be real, and vulnerable. You know what I mean?
It's hard. I mean, especially for men.
Yes.
I'm probably a little more on the vulnerable side than most, but I think a lot of guys, they want to be tough. They want to, kind of hold things in, be stoic. And I can relate to that feeling, but I think for myself, it's been really important to share my honesty and my truth, because I think there's a lot of men out there that maybe similar to me that can relate to my story. And I truthfully, I know that I've inspired people and I've connected with people that who wrote me on Instagram or messaged me on an email and said, hey, like I actually got sober because of you, or I've been able to deal with the loss of my brother because you dealt with the loss of yours, or I've been able to help people realize they need to get therapy or mental health,
Yeah.
support.
Dude, and
And
isn't that a great feeling?
oh,
You
that's like
know?
that's what it's all about. Like that's
Yeah,
for me. I didn't. It's like I had this realization because I started taking care of myself, really looking out for me and what was best for me, and that helped other people. Like that was like crazy to me that like if I help myself, I'm going to help other people.
man. And I love that you've used that and you've turned it, from this thing that was something negative, but turned into something positive, and then you're out here and you're blessing and helping. Your story is helping so many others. I think that's amazing. And then like so for you with even your support system, right? So you've had so much support from your fiance, Lindsay, who is on the show with you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And during that time, she chose to stop drinking for a period of time in order to stand beside you and support you.
Yep.
How much does that mean to you, and how much stronger has it made y'all's relationship?
I mean, it made me cry when she told me she was going to do that to support me, and it was kind of in the infancy of our dating relationship. Now we had been best friends for many years before that and very close. But it was at a pivotal time in my sobriety, and I think I needed to really, needed that support, and to have her really acknowledge it and take that step with me was unbelievable. What was really beautiful about it too, though, is she also, I think, saw a lot of benefits of it. After about 4 or 5 months, she was like, wow, my skin looks better. I'm sleeping better. Um,
Wow.
she saw a lot of things that I was also like that. It wasn't like it was all for me. Like she was able to see a lot of benefit of it too. But that, we've met a lot of couples these days that, one partner is sober, the other one still drinks, and how do they
Yeah.
navigate that? And it's a relatable thing, and it's something we constantly talk about and we continue to work on. But yeah, when your partner can kind of be on the same level as you and understand what you're dealing with, we're a team, and that
Yeah.
team aspect was really powerful.
Man,
So yeah,
Carl,
here I
yeah.
am. I just celebrated, 2 years in January of no alcohol, and
Man, congratulations, Carl. Two
thank you.
years.
2 years.
Woo! That is amazing. Like
Thank you.
really, and I mean, and congrats, because then even with the thing, reality TV is not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? And
No,
so,
it's not. Well,
uh,
alcohol becomes a kind of a crutch, I think, sometimes in reality TV because, yeah, some people, there's a camera in your face, or there's, difficult conversations or drama, and it's easy to reach for a bottle or a can of beer or lover boy or whatever. And that for me was something I always leaned on. I'd get anxiety about, something I did the night before, and I'd drink through it to feel better about it. Or,
mm,
I was stressed out about work or relationship. I mean, it was an easy crutch, especially on TV, because it gave me more like confidence to kind of like get through it.
What are the biggest challenges for you then with being and staying sober on reality TV then?
I mean, it's definitely has its challenges. I mean, at certain points, you kind of hit a wall. You're just like, just get sick and tired of being around super drunk people. But that also is just a cue for me to like separate myself for a little bit or go to bed or,
There
go
you
home.
go. Yeah.
The way I look at it is this, like, I wouldn't be able to do Summer House if I still drink.
Okay.
It's allowed me a lot of a new lease on life. It's given me a lot of balance and perspective. I'm a lot nicer to be around. I'm a lot more, just calm, and I'm a lot more present. And, there's a lot of times where I don't remember some of the dumb things I've done, and being
Yeah.
present in in my fiance's life, being present with my friends, that's a gift too. And they don't have to worry about me as much. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, listen, I've learned a lot about non-alcoholic drinks. There's a lot of mocktails out there these days. There's beer with no alcohol. There's a lot of new products that for me personally have been really important because I just need something in my hands,
Yeah.
and it's that social anxiety sometimes, but it's like, dude, as long as you got something bubbly or a little flavor, sweet, whatever, it helps. So I've learned a lot about what tools, and I always have something in my hand, seltzer, non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Um,
I used to love those so I'm ex-military, and so in my deployments in Iraq, so it was what they call mirror beer. So
okay, yes.
the
The
non-alcoholic
near
beer.
beer, yeah.
Oh,
Well, thank you for your service. My grandfather was Marine and my uncle was a Marine,
well,
so
thanks. I appreciate that.
always very 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 connected to our veterans and our military service. We my part of also, I mean, I was going to say just giving back too. It's been fun in a way to, like I said, the giving back aspect, being able to leverage our platform
Yeah.
to help others. And, I've raised some money for addiction. I've raised money for mental health support for our veterans. I've been able to really connect it. And it's not all about, getting followers or being most liked on the show. Like, I've been able to really give back, and I'm really proud of that. And
Man,
the
Carl,
military aspect is something
I thank you
I've
for
helped a
your
lot.
service and your help as far as with that because
Thanks.
and again, you don't see many people who do that and understand the struggle, with that, especially with veterans and addiction and
Yeah.
all, you know what I mean?
It's tough. I mean, I saw it in my uncle who, fought in Vietnam, and, he struggled with addiction. And, I think a lot of, if anybody deserves service or deserves support and health resources, it is our veterans. So I've worked
100%
closely
agree.
with like the Headstrong Project, and there's another organization our friend started, which is really all about getting mental health services for our veterans and making it more accessible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's stuff that kind of does tie in. Yeah, I'm not a veteran myself, but I'm able to leverage my platform, and I have friends that are veterans. We have a new cast member this season on Summer House who's a military veteran. He was a Marine.
Oh,
Um,
jarheads.
he's a badass, and he's a good dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to bring that perspective on this season, which I think is great too.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, you'll like Chris. He's a guy from Florida. He's a bro, but it's funny. He loves the camaraderie. He loves like
Yeah.
he brings a lot of good energy to the house.
Man, that's awesome. And so then speaking of that, so Carl, you've worked with an alcohol company, Loverboy, while
Yes.
sober. What was that like for you? And do you have any advice for others in the industry who are also on a journey to be sober, sobriety?
Yeah, great. I mean, great question. I've big part of an alcohol brand called Loverboy. Kyle, my best friend, he's the founder, and his wife Amanda. I was an investor early on in the business and a big supporter. Kyle's a friend. I really believed in his vision. I was still drinking at that time and, partying, and I thought, okay, this is a great idea. I love it. And then I decided, I was like, what, I could actually bring my skill set of sales and networking and business development to support the brand. So I started working there, and it just took off, and it's been an unbelievable ride. And we've been working our asses off, and we've been making, traveling around the country, and we're now a nationwide company. We're in
Nice.
44 states. We're at Whole Foods, we're at Target, we're at Kroger, we're at these major grocery chains and Total Wine and all these places. But at the same time, I was kind of going through this personal transition, and it was scary. I think
Yeah.
it's conflicting, but what I did learn, and for those listening, there's a lot of sober people that work in the alcohol industry. Excuse me. The amount of people I met, bartenders don't
Yeah.
drink. I've met managers of restaurants and bars who don't drink. I've met people who work at alcohol companies and brands that don't drink. And if you think
Wow.
about it, you're consumed by that all the time and you're
Mm.
constantly in that environment. It just, it gives you different perspective. But again, similar to me being able to be on Summer House, the reason I'm still on Summer House is because I don't drink.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm able to work at an alcohol company is because I don't drink. If I was drinking, I wouldn't be able to work at Loverboy because it wouldn't work. I wouldn't be accountable. I wouldn't be responsible. I wouldn't show up on time. I'd be argumentative. I wouldn't be present.
Yeah.
And that's what the brain shift I needed to do is it's a gift that's allowing me to be a part of this company and allowing me to really focus on the job itself.
Yeah.
Because you never don't get high on your own supply. Like, and that
Yeah,
that was
facts.
becoming a problem working when I was still drinking. I'd be drinking Loverboy at 2 p.m. and then through the night, and that's a Tuesday, and I do it on a Wednesday, and the next thing you know, it's the weekend. So once you separate yourself from it, it's an industry. I understand that. It is a vice. I understand that. But
Yeah.
I'm just so proud I've been a big part of building something so unique. And maybe there's a future where a non-alcoholic Loverboy is born,
So,
which is cool
so
because there's a lot more, awareness around people not drinking, and there's less of a stigma
yeah.
around sobriety.
So with that, I mean, I think that would be awesome. Lover boy, mere drinks.
Yeah,
Get him
near
in Iraq and
Loverboy.
Afghanistan.
Let's do it.
So with that, so Carl, what would you say to people out there that are trying to get sober and fear losing friends, thinking they can't be around alcohol because they don't think they're strong enough, or just simply that the fun may change.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all those things might feel very overwhelming and true. But I think if you lose friends because you get sober, they probably weren't your friend to begin with.
That part.
Um, I think number two is that waking up and feeling good in the morning. Anybody who wakes up and is hungover or anxious, depressed, let's remember alcohol is a depressant.
Yeah.
People care about what they put in their bodies these days. People worry about sugar. People worry about too much calories. Alcohol has an impact on your body. Like, I don't eat certain like red tomato sauces because it makes my stomach upset.
Yeah.
Like, similar thought process, alcohol made me sick. And so once you kind of separate it and understand, like, okay, like you have a respect for it, it opens up kind of a new world for you. You meet other sober people who you can connect on a deeper level. You maybe cut out some people that weren't as healthy for you. I'll also say financially, man. I mean, the amount of money that you'll save is unbelievable. The
Yeah.
decision, like not only just buying the booze, but the result of long nights of drinking, the Ubers late at night, the order of late night food orders, the dumb bar tabs, other substances come into play. Just the volatility of it, it just gave me a balance that I was so seeking.
Yeah.
And, I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I was only exacerbating those things by drinking so much. So I've
Mm.
now been able to actually get under control a lot of this anxiousness and this depression
Yeah.
because I removed that substance. So listen, I might be lame, but I'm not an asshole anymore. Well, maybe I am a little bit sometimes, but
Well, I'll
it's
tell you
just,
one thing, Carl. From a veteran to you, man, I respect and appreciate your story. I mean, dude, even hearing everything that we've talked about, you've given me goosebumps, and it's awesome.
oh,
And I hope a lot more people hear this, because it's not lame to not drink. Honestly, man, you're one of the cool kids to me.
thank you, man.
You
Yeah, no,
know,
there's definitely a lot of fear and trepidation about change in general. But with change, new doors open always.
yeah,
And sometimes, the thing that it could give you a whole new perspective on your life. And the very thing that, like alcohol for me, once I was able to come to understanding of it, I mean, my life has completely changed for the better. And,
yeah.
going to bed a little bit earlier is not a problem. Nothing good goes on after 11 p.m. We all know
Oof.
that.
Yes, nothing, nothing good.
But it does take work. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. I always look at it, it's one day at a time. I wake up a lot of gratitude, a lot of gratefulness, but also improving of the relationships in your life that matter the most. Like I've never been closer to my family than I've ever been before. And I have, sobriety to thank for that. And I think anybody who's nervous about losing the party scene or losing being cool, like it'll be a good sacrifice for the interim for what the
Yeah.
other benefits are down the line.
Man, that's amazing. So Carl, what's next for you?
Well, we're coming up on season 7 here of Summer House, which is always, an exciting time. Loverboy, I'm still an investor there and still, very supportive and affiliated with the company. I'm so proud of what we built. There might be a non-alcoholic edition coming down the line.
Nice.
Um, I'm also, like we talked about at the beginning, I went to school for TV and film.
Yeah.
I'm working on some film projects that are,
Okay.
scripted and totally different than reality TV.
Yeah.
And then, working on some other things like we talked about today. Just I think being able to shed light on, perseverance and difficult challenges in lives, similar to what you're doing with your platform. Like I'm hoping to maybe leverage, my experiences and connecting with others,
Yeah.
and seeing where that could go. So whether it's, public speaking or podcasting or motivational stuff, I definitely want to continue to explore that because the conversation we're having is like it feels like my heart beats really well with this because it feels right. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I 100% understand. Like I said, I'm with you. Man, it's you. Just this conversation with you has been amazing. Like I said, I mean, like you've touched me in ways, like I said, you don't even know, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing, your story with me and the time. So before I let you go, we have to get real and raw, Carl. All right, you
Okay,
ready? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Don't be scared. Here it is. It's Super Bowl weekend, Carl. Okay. Who you with? You got Philly, you got KC, or are you saying I'm just with Rihanna for the
I was,
halftime show?
yeah. I mean, I'm a bad girl Riri guy all day.
Yeah.
But listen, I love the NFL. I'm from Pittsburgh originally, so I am a Steeler fan. However, I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts. He's
Yes.
he's had quite the story from college to professional. He's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
But Mahomes is an unbelievable player too, and I like the Chiefs, but I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one.
Yes, there we go. Carl, I'm with you on that, man. I'm a Dirty Bird fan for life, man. I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan for life. But
I missed that, the Dirty Bird.
oh yes. A lot of people they don't even understand and know it,
Oh,
man.
Jamal Anderson, baby, never forget.
Yes, all day, man, all day. But I'm just like with you, man. I love Hurt's story. I love his journey. I love how he carries himself. And man, I'm rooting for him this game. And of course, I want to see Riri do her
Oh, yeah.
thing.
I know. I can't wait to hear the songs she chooses because I heard she was going through like figuring out which ones they were going to play.
Yeah,
She's got bangers, she's got hits left and right. So I don't
man,
know how they're going to condense that all into however many minutes the halftime is.
that it's a lot. So I mean, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting and quite fun. And Carl, man, I just want to thank you again so much for your time. Man, thank you so much for sharing your story. Like I said, man, I give you much props and I have so much respect for you, your journey, and where it has taken you. And I can't wait to see where you go with it from here on out, man.
Appreciate you saying that, PJ. And again, thanks for everything that you're doing with this. And I think being able to tell my story and be so open and vulnerable with yourself, it feels good on my end too. So I really appreciate the opportunity and best of luck with everything and go Birds.
There we go. Go Birds. Thank you. And Carl, where can people, if they want to get in contact or get some more information or anything like that, how can they get in contact or reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I do have an email address that people can email me from Instagram.
Okay.
I'm trying my best to do respond. I get a lot of people that have asked for support or advice. Not that I'm not a doctor or therapist, but I can tell you what's worked for me.
Yeah.
And just be a lending ear of support. So people can find me on Instagram at Carl Radke, CarlRadke. Also on Twitter, and then not on TikTok. I'm 38 years old. I'm like, I don't know about
God,
TikTok.
I'm so with you on that, man. My daughter pulls. I'm like, no,
Too much. Too much.
too much. I'm like, I'm from like the MySpace
Yes,
journey.
MySpace and Facebook and like early on, like
Yeah,
AOL Instant Messenger even like this is
there it is.
too
Like I can't do the TikTok is too much for me.
much.
Oh man. Well, Carl, man, thank you. Hey, you have an amazing Friday. And man, I like I said, I can't wait to see what's next for you, man.
Thank you, PJ, and best of luck to you and have a great weekend, man.
All right, thank you. You
All
too.
right. Cheers.
Cheers.